Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Avant Novus live stream for map making, part of our cartography series. We are looking today at Incarnate, or Carnage, however you pronounce it. It's map making software. We reviewed the software, I believe, late November, late December, and since then they've came out with uh, quite a few new features in their patch, in their software, and the way it's used. We thought it warranted another look at the software itself and also another review because they've done a lot of work on it, and I think what you're going to find is very, very interesting. Our initial review was based on we went into it blind. We just figured out how to use it a little bit and its features from a point of view of a new user. uh, we're coming into this as a semi-proficient user of it, also with reading patch notes and looking at some other tutorials online. We do have the Pro license. Just to make things clear, we're going to be showing you the Pro license and probably another map with the standard free license that you can get. Uh, Word of warning before, just some personal biases on my end. Incarnate does remind me a lot of 3D vector CAD software. That's not my favorite software. However, with how they've handled this, it's become a lot more fluid, in my opinion, a lot better. So let's go ahead and jump in there and we will quickly get started here. First, most important thing to notice is this is the login page for um, Incarnate. You just go in, load your map. It keeps it online. You can download it anywhere. We have our test map. You can see we did earlier. Been looking at some stuff and been looking at, let's get rid of that. Been looking at some of the other features, and one of the most important things I stumbled across is once you get into either the free version or the pro version, hit F11. That's really gonna change a lot of things for you. I've also noticed, I don't know if I was doing it wrong in the previous video, but there is now a lot more support for the stylus. So let's go ahead and create a new map. And let's go with a Pro Edition. Just for this reference, here's our new map. And let's get started. Again, I'm using a Wacom tablet. And just some general features. You have your land, you can add, you subtract. You can change background, you can change the texture and look at the sea. You know, pretty much whatever you want to do there. I'm just going to use their general. I'll be using just their general software there, their general color there. A couple of really cool things they've done lately is, first of all, um, again, all the features for your hills, dwarf buildings. These are primarily for your overland features. One of the biggest strengths of God, I'm having so much. It's spelled a little differently, so please forgive me. Of Incarnate is that it has some wonderful, when it comes to object tools, okay? This is the city features, and it is just absolutely stock full of everything you ever wanted, everything you ever needed, different, elven buildings, dwarven buildings, human buildings, markers. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff in this. I personally would like to see some more overland features, but I'm being like super picky there. So please forgive me. So let's go ahead and just kind of break down this. This is a rough review of kind of a little bit of learning. They've added a new feature like forward ground and background. For background, we're manipulating the ocean. Again, this is the sculpt view. Excuse me, the brush tool. If we go to the sculpt view, we're gonna first of all add. We're gonna zip this down to about right there. We're gonna first draw our landform. Let's just really kind of turn this up to 11. So we're just going to add, let's just, maybe something right here. We'll go in and redefine the shape. Maybe a little peninsula down here, maybe some islands, whatever. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go subtract. I am going to reduce the size of stuff, and we'll start hollowing out, you know, making it look actually pretty decent. I did find one of the biggest tips of Incarnate is that I'm just going to say that from now on. If that's wrong, please, please, please correct me. I want to represent the software and the people that use it the very best. Because after using the software for a couple days, I found I really enjoy what it's done. They've taken care of a lot of the issues I felt were present in the previous version before this patch or before other patches. What I'm doing now, I'm just reducing the size, of course, of the reduced brush. This is allowing me to create a lot more textures. That little X is from Windows. Yay. Who I have a love, hate, hate, hate relationship with. Full disclosure. It's pretty good, but it's but yeah, we'll just, you know, kind of make some land. Then we'll go in and make, go away Windows, no one likes you. Okay, and then we'll make some, yeah, make some rivers. One of the things that with this software, and I don't know if it's a personal preference on my end, well, I do know it's a personal preference on my end, is that there's no control, you know, you can't step back and correct something. You can't step back and create a boo-boo you made. You have to edit it out. Again, that's just a personal preference. Back when I was working on concerts and theaters and stuff like that, the second you move into someone else's theater or venue, you play by their rules, and you get used to that. Same's true with any software. It's a little, again, personal preference. I'd like it a different way. The more I get to use it, though, the more workflow I get into, the more I can relate to the software itself. Okay, we've got kind of a local map and stuff like that. I'm just going to bump me out of this because no one wants to see that. Okay. All right, now we're into this. So we have this. We've got our landform, and let's go into. We're going to kind of use this brush to kind of color things. This background and foreground. We're going to go to the foreground, meaning the actual terrain. The softness feature, I'm a big fan of how they've changed how their brushes work. Let me show you the difference. It's given me first of all, a lot more options on our color. Maybe some political maps. Something that I really like is that they're allowing us to change. It gives us a better feel for the opacity and also the softness. So if I'm doing some very light work, as such, you can kind of see where the cursor is, and I really like that. It lets me go in and add. I really like the coloring software of this. The more I play with it, the more I really dig it. Again, if I go back, it just adds something more. What I'm doing is I use the color on the software to get a feel for where I'm going to place everything next. I start with a kind of a tone, kind of more of a tone than actual color. Then I will go in and I will let's maybe go with this. Using the softness, I will start going in and changing some of the landform, the color based on climate, whatnot. This allows me to control color and kind of plan out where I'm putting stuff. My other videos on YouTube, you can kind of see how I do it a little bit differently with other forms of software, but for Incarnate, this is, I really dig this. This works really well for me. Let's just kind of fill in that. Now, an important thing to do, and we'll get into this other feature that I want to spend a lot of time on, is for our mountains. We're going to, let's say we're going to let's do some small mountains, kind of get an idea of the color. I'm just going to put this guy up here. Going to go back to the paint. Gonna find something a little bit close to that. Let's bump all this up. Yeah, that's good. And I'm just going to select where these mountains are by creating a darker feel. Again, using the color to prepare. The color, I've become so enamored with it, I've been using it as a tool to plan my maps out more than anything else. So we kind of have a general idea. I don't want to spend too much on form, function, language, shape, contour, tectonics, and weather. So we're just going to go in and we are going to start playing. I'll get into all this a little later. We're just going to start. We're going to start using our objects. Okay. Our objects. Our objects, the biggest change they've made in the patch is how we can change objects. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. When choosing an object, let's say we're doing, I don't know, maybe floating earth here. You can see it in the background. Before I place it down, I actually can hit the bracket keys and decide exactly what it is. Previous versions of Incarnate didn't allow you to do that, but this one did. So let's go ahead and we're going to go back to those mountains. And we're going to size these down quite a bit. I don't know, maybe something right there. One second. And let's kind of zoom in. Now I'm zooming in with a browser. It's a little bit faster, so I can choose exactly where and what type of these mountains are. So if I want to be placing a very specific ridge line or a very specific type here, or I can just rely on the object placement brush to kind of do the work for me. Regardless, it gives you in landscaping, it gives you some really great options. We'll also do a little bit of a city map here. One of my biggest struggles is finding software that does cities well. Incarnate just rips that problem apart. Also, it is browser based. Some people, you might be turned off by that, but I actually really enjoy that. I have a tendency to do. Oops, messed up there. We'll come back to. I'll show you how to fix that. Some software, and I'm going to make a direct comparison. Well, some software, when it comes to the actual use of the software, when you go into really high detail, it slows down. With this being web-based, it allows me to create some ridiculous detailed maps without having to worry about stuff like that. Okay, I've messed up down here, so let's go ahead, and the way you get rid of that with Incarnate is you go into your object select, you select the objects, click, and we can actually move them to the different places. Let's go down here and let's get rid of this menu. Oops. And we can turn them and flip them and do all kinds of crazy stuff with them. You can also delete them, push it back, push them forward. We're pushing them back and pushing them forward. Let's go ahead and look at that a little bit more with the same object. Same object tool. Let's say I want let's say I want some crystals, okay? If I come in here, we're just going to put, the crystals are something kind of new, okay? And let's say I want these crystals to kind of be a little bit like, let's zoom in here. This crystal specifically, I want this to come down here, but instead of being covered up by that mountain, I want it to be on the top of that. This is a new feature in the patch, I believe, that we can actually move that to the front or in front of, you have a front and back, and this allows me to place this anywhere. It's a very cool new feature. It works like some other vector programs, but it's simple enough that the vector doesn't get in your way. That same feel that the vector software. My personal feelings, my personal preference is a lot of the features of vector software get in the way of actually doing this. With Incarnate, it's the same strengths of a vector software without the weaknesses of it. So again, going a quick review on that feature. When we're placing an object, we can now push it into background, foreground. The placement tools have been greatly enhanced. Now there's just a demo. So let's say we got these trees. We can actually go in and decide exactly what kind of trees we want to place. Or we can just hold down our stylus or our mouse. You can hear it clicking in the background, and it allows us to do all of that. Or we can select a special kind of tree. Say we have a great mother tree here, or something like that, or a really big tree of bigness. Say we want it right there. The new tool allows us to select whatever pattern. Most software like this does not allow you to do that, as I am currently aware. Again, with little villages and stuff like that, same thing. Just allows you to do anything. Let's go ahead and go into, we're going to now create a, we're now going to create a new map. And we're going to make this another pro map. And this is going to be primarily a village. And this is again showing features. This is nothing, I don't claim this is to be very, let's zoom out, make sure we get everything. Let's say we're doing a coastal city. Again, same process that I use. I define its form first with a big brush. The form of the town or whatever this is going to be. I then go in and define the shape with a little smaller brush. Let's say it has, oops, you put that on subtract. Again, if I had any choice or any preference, I would love to see this. I would love to have this a step forward or step back. Apparently people have been trying to get a hold of me and I've been ignoring it. I am so sorry. Get the chat open there. Alright. Welcome to the channel, guys. If you're joining us live, welcome. If you're not and want to see some other stuff, please leave a comment in the features. In the comments below. Get out of there, Windows. We don't like you. Shut there as well. Okay, so then we have, let's see, some little things like that. Maybe some harbor. Maybe someone's drained a couple swamps over here. Maybe some other things. This is a live stream. This isn't in any way meant to be a professional video or whatnot. But again, every mistake I make, you get to see. Every little stupid thing you get to see. Whatever. Okay, objects. Let's go into our town objects. We click this up here, and we get to choose our objects. We can either put like a city like that. Maybe delete it because it's selected again. I think I put a bunch of them there. So we'll just delete that. Or we can choose to, if a zoomed in view like that. But let's go ahead and get into a very detailed, kind of more of a detailed thing here. So let's start with something, I don't know, maybe some cliffs. Maybe some additional cliffs right here. You guys basically get the idea. Maybe some bridges here by the cliffs. Then let's go ahead and look at the city stuff. I'm really enjoying this. I need to spend a lot more time and get a lot more familiar with the city features of this. But right now, I am just very enamored with the software. They've done a lot to improve it, and I couldn't recommend it more. Let's go ahead and choose some. We'll do a desert market. Let's make this a little bit smaller. market. Maybe you could put some gates. You guys pretty much get the idea. Make that a little bit bigger. They've also added, if you like the size of stuff or if you don't like the size of stuff, you can, let's say I'm placing something else somewhere, I can come back to it, select the object, resize it, twirl it around, place it somewhere else. And I like that. It's a feature of most vector software. It can be really annoying, but it's all in a heads-up display with this. Really like it. Great feature. They've done a great job. And again, the other thing here, let's say I want, for some reason, let's say I want this really big, but I want this in the foreground. Let's say I move this here. And again, well, let's say I want it in the background. Excuse me. First of all, select the one I want. We're going to put this in the background. Yay, it's in the background now. Again, easy to choose. It was a much, according to the forums on Instagram, it was a big feature that you can select either a foreground object or a background object, and they have nailed it. Looking at the forums on Instagram, they are very much, the developers of the software are very, very responsive. They are very much on the really active when it comes to the feedback that they get from their customers, from their and from by social media stuff. I did find that the information was a little hard to find on the things that they've changed. So you might want to go check that out. I would like to see that on their website, maybe some media. Let's go push this to front. On their media pages or anything like that. Just as a select just this, right there, something like that. I would like to see a little bit easier of what they're doing. I think that add a lot of value to the software and also help them promote this fine product, which I generally really do like. I think they've done a wonderful job on it. It's a lot more easy to use. It's a lot. Ooh, jungle market, cool. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all the cool little objects. It's a lot more easy to use. It's very much a lot more intuitive. Whirlpool. Very much more intuitive. Very much more on the side of giving you a very wonderful experience without the hassle, without all the shenanigans that go into some software like this. You basically get the idea with the backwards and forwards, some of the coloring, other things like that with the update. They've also added a bunch of new objects, a bunch of new shapes, some gorgeous banners. Let's see if I can find a couple of those. Absolutely beautiful banners. Yay, airships. That's actually a really cool airship. Like that. So here's some banners that you can write in, stuff like that. So let's say we yay. Like the banners, like the stylization of it. The art style is very consistent. The art style of Incarnate is very, very consistent. It looks like the same artist did everything. It looks like the little, I want to call them sprites, but they're not, the little objects in their language that is available to use are pretty much dead on. You know what, let's go ahead and we're going to select all of these and move them to the background. And we are going to, we're going to start putting our trees in. Say there's like some jungle place. And looking at this, I don't like one of those bridges. We're just gonna get rid of one of those bridges. Again, we have that airship flying around. You can easily make just a quick or a very detailed standard. We're gonna see if I can move this forward. you guys can see that's the biggest feature. You choose what's forward, what's backwards, and you edit everything in real time. Again, really like the software. Let's say I didn't like this bridge. Delete. Say I don't like this bridge. Delete. And maybe we just have a quick little oasis here, or some shenanigans like that. And again, I'm just throwing stuff down. Making a little jungle biome for my next adventure, for a role playing group or something like that. Again, really quick, really fun. I cannot stress how easy the software is. I'm really enjoying the software. The more I get into it, the more powerful I feel. It's become. Also, I love the coloring. I know it's weird. I come from a very heavy art background, a background in scenic design and a scenic opacity. I'll bring that down so it. I come from a very artsy fartsy background, a lot of digital media and a lot of physical media, and I love how this blends. I love the colors, how they blend. Some other software like this. My biggest complaint is the blending of software, the blending of colors. It's not consistent. It doesn't feel good. I'm usually stuck with one or two colors. If I change like the stylization of the map, some other software lets me to change that, and it's the strength of the software. Incarnate doesn't, but at the same time, I'm not missing it because I can make pretty much with the texturing and with this color grid. Let's see. Yay, swamp. I can pretty much do the exact same thing just using these colors, and it feels really natural and it feels really good. Again, this is impressions as I do this. To review, you can choose a forward and a background with Incarnate. You can choose your coloring software is a lot better. Your models, there's a ton more. I would like to, and also you can place stuff in the foreground, background. You can manipulate items. You can choose, let me just do this one more time. I can't stress how much I love this. You can choose exactly what object, just hitting the bracket keys. You can choose what objects you're placing where. Choose them in the foreground or background or whatever like that. So, with what they've done with the software, thank you guys. This is an amazing part of the software. I would like to go back to our maps. Yes, leave. And I would like to create just a standard map so everybody kind of sees exactly what. This is like the free version. It's not the pro version. Oops, maybe if I went in and actually, I don't know, added land, that might help. Okay, we're just going to do a quick little landform right here. We're going to focus on adding, we're going to focus on the features, using those features correctly, or using the features how I'm comfortable with. Again, we've defined our initial form. Now we're going in with the size of the brush to define its shape. I'm using my mouse on this to show you how easy this is. You don't need any big styluses or any fancy things like that. They are very easy and very wonderful to use with that. That was my big one. Well, my two biggest complaints last time is I can't step back and step forward, or control 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 Z or control V, edit and undo. However, I'm not. Come on, Windows, don't do this to me. I'm not feeling that I'm missing anything now. And the stylus support, me being able to use a stylus on this last time, for some reason it might have been an input problem, but I can use my stylus now with this. I really, really enjoy this. If that's new in the patch, great. If it's just something I was doing wrong, I apologize. Now we're just going to do a quick little texture. Foreground. And let's go opacity and bring the opacity down so I can stack layers. Softness is up all the way. Just kind of plan it with this, planning out where this is going, how this is going. With the standard features, you only get a couple of the brushes, but it's a really, I mean, if I'm just doing this for grins, if I'm just trying the software out, it gives me a very wonderful feel for what the software offers and also for how it operates. So please, 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 if you're even remotely interested, check this out. I just get giddy with this. I get downright giddy with that tool. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the mountains. Let's look at, and let's just do some hills here. And we're gonna kind of choose our hills. Let's maybe do some. Let's say I don't want those hills. Just go ahead and select them. I can again make them dance, move them, or whatever I want to do. In this case, I don't want them, so I'm going to delete them. Going to go back to my tool place. Let's go with some cool little mountains. Let's make sure that maybe we'll just make some plateaus here and there. Again, this is just me showing off some features. And let's say I want, I don't know, maybe a crazy little mountain here someplace. And again, I'm choosing exactly the type of... Okay, yeah, cool. You know, let's say I want to add some, I don't know, let's say some villages. Oriental villages there. You guys, whoops. Let's go ahead and select that. Move it there. Maybe, yeah. Let's maybe move this to the foreground. Oh, thank you for the comment distribution. Really, really appreciate that. So you can push it over the mountains to the forward or backwards. Okay, so that's some of the features, the ability to push stuff back, forwards, the ability to choose the different brushes, the wonderful way they've got to color, the editing. I really love it. Biggest tip I found today is the F11 in your browser. Again, in the browser, it just changes it from a web-based browser to an actual big software. You can zoom in on it. Again, I'm just doing that, holding the control and using the browser settings and everything there. Can't recommend this enough. Check it out at it. Sorry, got another couple messages bouncing between a couple things. Check it out at. Let me grab the website for you really quick so you can see exactly where I'm getting this. Okay, this is the website. Get in there, make some maps. The tools, you can see basic plans. Free personal use. I'm doing the commercial use. You can't get any better than that, folks. This is Dan with Avant Novus. Kind of a quicker stream today. Hope you enjoyed this. Later this week, we'll be going into using the software to actually create what I would term a very specific map. We'll go into detailed creation. We're also going to be using ArtRage and WonderDraft. Stay tuned for those. Also on our YouTube channel, we are going to be posting some tools with ArtRage, some ways to help you get the most out of your software, and also some other tips and tricks with software we find that is very appealing. Probably with Incarnate, we will be focusing on creating a city. I've been looking for software that will help me do that, and I think this one's the way to, well, I feel, and I think I know this one's the way to go on this. Please support us, comments and all that stuff at the bottom of the video. Check us out on Facebook, go to avantnovus.com. We are on DriveThruRPG if you want some of our maps, and thank you so much for coming and have a great day. Appreciate it.